Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome to yet another episode of the Wisdom Save podcast. As always, I am Ken,
I'm Hannah.
and so we're going to.
Get into the spooky season!
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna get a little weird, but
Uh,
you're also right.
Spooky! I mean, unless your topic's just weird. But...
Oh, just you wait, baby. I've been waiting for this one. This
Okay.
one's gonna be exciting. So as I'm sure all of you who are listening know, it is October, which means it's spooky season.
Mhm.
It's the time of year when things start to get a little bit creepy, start to get a little bit crazy, and we have a plethora of spooky and creepy content coming your way. But today, for my topic that Hannah knows nothing about,
Mhm.
we're gonna get a little weird.
Okay.
We're gonna dive into conspiracies.
Oh, conspiracy theories?
Not conspiracy theories.
Okay.
We're gonna do a conspiracy theory.
Okay, so one.
One.
Well, I'm glad I
We're gonna
didn't do
take.
that for my topic, because I almost did.
Oh shit! See, that's something. Tangent for a second. That's something I've definitely been worried about. That like one day we're gonna be like, "Ooh, I got a good one," and you're like, "Yeah, I got a good topic too." And we're gonna sit there, we're gonna research it independently, like spend all our time off working on it, and then we're gonna get and sit down, and then one of us is gonna be like, "All right, so today we're doing the same fucking thing."
We'll be able to retcon it in the future
Yeah, exactly.
if it
We can always
happens, but
figure it out.
we haven't yet, so
One of these days, I swear to God, we're gonna do it.
close, but not yet.
But yes, we're gonna do. There's a conspiracy theory that, and I mean conspiracy theories in general. Like what comprises a conspiracy theory? What causes people to kind of like delve into this sort of subconscious reality that maybe is happening behind the scenes, or maybe it's all just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. How crazy can a conspiracy theory get?
Uh,
There are some that are really fucking weird and crazy. There are some that it's like, okay, like that's probably real.
like the Earth being flat, or the Earth being a donut, or like
Yeah, like those things. That's like, buddy, we have like scientific facts that can show you that you're like
on a
just
ball.
yeah, like what are you doing? But then there's like, oh, there was some. I can't even look them up. There were some weird conspiracy theories when I was researching this. I also researched a bunch of random conspiracy theories because um, I got really into that kind of shit. But uh, most of them were kind of just like the really like crazy out there oddball shit. It's like, like chemtrails kind of shit and like 5G internet towers
Oh,
are
that's
causing
so
COVID-19
dumb.
bullshit. Yeah, the weird shit.
Right.
But there were a couple that it's just like, okay, like yeah, I kind of get what's going on there.
Well, there are some that are like, I definitely understand where they're coming from, and some of them I even actually believe, because they're like, yeah, probably.
Now I really have to like quickly go look up some statistics on some conspiracy theories that I think could be real so that people don't think I'm a flat earther in the comments or
Well, I
some weird
mean,
shit.
that's the thing, is some of them are just so out there that you're like, nah, probably not that one. But like, there are others that, yeah, for sure. I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah, like technically it's a conspiracy. This is kind of like getting into like political history stuff, but like technically it's a conspiracy theory that like the CIA was involved with multiple assassination attempts against Fidel Castro of Cuba
Yeah.
because he was a communist and America was like very invested in not
Oh,
doing that. And
I
they're like,
100% believe
yeah,
that. I
there's
mean,
no proof necessarily that they were involved, but like they definitely were though.
like, also, like, when doesn't America put their fingers in every cookie jar that just says, no, thank you, America? So,
And
like,
that's part of why that conspiracy theory just feels like even if it's not true, like even if they didn't do it that time, it really isn't it true though?
it's probably true.
Yeah, shit like that, like things where it's like, oh yeah, there was one I was reading something about, and I'm gonna totally butcher this, and I'll probably put a link to like information about it, but there was a speech that was given by a young woman, um from, I believe, I want to say she was from Iran
Okay.
at the UN, like back when George H.W. Bush was
Mm-hmm.
president, and then everyone was like she gave this thing about like how like like so like Iraqi soldiers like came into like a hospital and they like did all these horrible atrocious war crimes and then just left and like oh they're such bad people and then the US government was like wow that little girl that little 15-year-old girl said that, can you believe that, we should totally like arm their enemies and then like, that's justified because those guys are just awful. And then it turns out that the girl who gave the testimony was like one of the chancellor's daughters or
Yeah.
something, and she like didn't give her last name to hide her identity because they just wanted to justify it. Shit like that, like things that like you can look at it and be like, okay, like that's sketch, and here's why. Those conspiracy
Well, yeah.
theories.
Like I've just been sitting here thinking it, and I didn't want to say it because I'm like I don't want to get like real controversial,
Yeah.
but it's like the whole like people think America did 9/11
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could totally believe that.
That's the thing is like, do we have any proof? No.
Nah,
Could I see it?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's probably that's a reflection of of the United States as a country, I feel. But anyway, before we get
Oh,
weirdly
sorry, that was my neck. If anyone heard.
I I'm looking at the audio
Oh,
levels
it's
right
a
now.
giant
We
spike.
we heard that.
Sorry, I'm not dead. We got our own conspiracy theory.
No, her bones are incredible. They just make the craziest sounds. I don't understand how she does
I
it.
kind of just do that without thinking. Like, I'll pop all my bones. So, anyone that has an aversion to bone popping, I'm so sorry. That was probably torture out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, this is actually like bone cracking ASMR. We're rebranding the podcast. This is the first episode where that's what we do now. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all we do now.
Just me popping my bones for
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah, and like eating rock candy like you
Yeah.
were doing 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we did our test and I was chewing on rock candy and it was very clear. Like, somehow clearer than our voices.
Oh
It
yeah.
was just real nice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that could be it. That could be our new rebranding. But
so
anyway,
what
so
conspiracy theory are
fucking
we talking
conspiracy
about?
theories. Okay, so before we get into it, we're gonna wind up a little bit.
Okay.
This is a story. This is a saga. So before we talk about the conspiracy theory that has spawned from this, I'm going to need to introduce you to a phenomenon, a cultural effect, something that's been in the forefront of like people's collective subconscious for a decent number of years
Is it the
now.
Mandela Effect?
It is the Mandela Effect.
Okay.
We've talked about this before, so you kind of know. But I'm gonna.
Well, I know exactly what it is. I've
Yeah.
done my own research on that
That's
shit.
true. I'm going to explain the Mandela Effect for those of our listeners who don't know what that is, and then as we talk about it a little bit more, give some examples. Then we're going to kind of transition into the conspiracy theory that, like, I thought was a little bit crazy, and now I'm kind of like maybe it's just conspiracy theory hype, but
Okay.
like I'm kind of into it. So, the Mandela Effect is, for those of you who aren't familiar with the individual, is actually named after former South African president. I believe he was a president, Nelson Mandela, who was also a revolutionary leader who fought on the behalf of Black South Africans during apartheid era. He was sort of like a revolutionary leader and figurehead of theirs, very well respected amongst South African people. According to the research that I found, the term the Mandela Effect began somewhere around the year 2009. An individual by the name of Fiona Broom was at a conference having a conversation with other people. Doesn't really explain exactly what the conference was, but they were all having a conversation, and she mentioned offhandedly during a conversation that she had certainly not fond. She had a memory, a vivid memory of the tragedy of the death of former South African President Nelson Mandela. She remembered him as passing away while he was imprisoned for decades, literal decades, as a revolutionary prisoner, before he was eventually freed and then became president. or he became president and then was imprisoned by the government and then became again. I don't know the exact details.
Okay.
But she remembers his death in a South African prison in the 1980s. She has a vivid memory of that. That is not true.
Mm-hmm.
He, in fact, passed away, I believe, of old age in 2013, which would be 4 years later. So at the time of this conference, he wasn't dead.
Right.
But she vividly remembers him being dead.
Like in the past.
Like in the 80s. As she began to talk to other people about this recollection, she learned that she wasn't alone. Other people remember a speech that was given by his widow.
Mm-hmm.
Other people were remembering seeing news coverage of his passing. And not only just people at the conference, but she eventually, noticing this phenomenon, created a website, sort of like a blog site about it. And then other people would comment being like, oh yeah, I remember watching the news report saying that he died. People weren't able to like pull up clips or video or any other sort of evidence that existed detailing this phenomenon, but a large number of people seem to have a collective recollection that he had passed when in fact he was still alive and would continue to be alive for 4 more years. Because Miss Fiona Broome was shocked that such a large mass of people could remember the same identical event in such similar details when it never happened, she was encouraged by her publisher, so she must have been an author, to begin a website to discuss what she had then coined as the Mandela Effect.
Mm-hmm.
The Mandela Effect, of course, generally now meaning a collective recollection of something that isn't real, but we all had vivid, realistic memories of it existing. So, to go along with that and to see how that has kind of like grown and changed over time, I've collected a number of examples of the Mandela Effect. I would like anyone in the comments who knows of any examples of this to also give some of their own examples if they know it.
Before you do your list, I wanted to talk about one that I actually remember doing.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah. Start us off strong. I like it.
Well, it's really small, but like most of the ones that I'd realized, or like that I had quote unquote like taken part in, being like, oh yeah, that wasn't that way. I remember it being a totally different way.
Right.
Were like brought to my attention. There was one that I was like, I saw a Fruit of the Loom logo, and you might have it on your list. But
yeah, this is actually on there.
It was all just the fruit. And I was like, it definitely had like that cornucopia thing on it before. And I was like, well, maybe they'd like just updated the brand or something like that.
Right.
But apparently nothing Fruit of the Loom ever had a cornucopia.
Yes. There is a massive, almost like a collective recollection where people think of the Fruit of the Loom logo and they see all of these varieties of different fruits. There's grapes, oranges, apples, things like that, spilling out of a sort of like wicker cornucopia. That cornucopia not only doesn't exist in their current logo, it never existed. But thousands of people remember it.
Yeah, I do for sure.
You remember it. I also remember it. I have a vivid memory. When I was actually looking at this, they showed a picture of the version without the cornucopia. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, because I had I used to buy like packages of like the Fruit of the Loom boxers or whatever, and they had the little logo on the top when I was younger, and they had the cornucopia in it. So, but yeah, it's not real. That's never been a thing.
Well, I don't want you. I don't think it's not real. I think it's just different now.
Yes, I think it is different. And we'll get into where some of these Mandela Effect things are kind of coming from. Clearly, the most direct example of the Mandela Effect would be the death of Nelson Mandela.
Right.
That's kind of like
the original effect.
The kickstart of the whole thing. Let me give you some other really popular examples. Here's a good one. Did you ever, when you were a kid, did you ever read any Curious George?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did Curious George look like?
See, the thing is, I know about this one, and I don't remember him the way people say it. Everyone kept saying that he had a tail.
Right. This is another.
I remember him as a little brown monkey.
Yeah.
With just like the little hot dog body, the little hot dog
Yeah,
feet,
the
little hot dog
body.
arms, and the
Yeah.
little round head.
Yep.
That's all I remember. Like, but lots of people say they remember him with a tail, and I don't remember him ever having a tail.
I also don't remember him having a tail. This one was a little weird to me. I was looking up some stuff, and I was able to find, like, there's like I actually don't remember the name of the subreddit, but there was a subreddit about probably our Mandela effects, I imagine.
Maybe, probably.
But I did see some information where people were talking about this, and there are a decent number of people who seem to remember him having a tail. I certainly don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I go into our local bookstore all the time, and I don't see tailed Curious George, and
well, he's definitely not that way anymore.
I wouldn't see it, but
I never remember him having one at all.
Yeah.
And we watched a lot of Curious George, like
like the cartoon,
the books, like the little shows and stuff. Since we were really, really small, because Brandon really liked monkeys, and I guess when my mom was young, she also really liked monkeys. So we watched a lot of Curious George and read a lot of Curious George, and I don't remember a tail on him.
Yeah, I don't think I remember one either. Speaking of popular children's books, are you familiar with the beloved character family of the Berenstain Bears?
Berenstain Bears.
The Berenstain Bears. Now, you say Berenstain Bears. Why?
Because they're the Berenstain Bears.
Spelled Berenstein.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I remember too. Apparently, they have always been Berenstain Bears.
Okay.
Like Stain. And apparently, like, that's like the family who made the book series. Their last name is Berenstain, and so that's where it comes from. But I remember it being called the Berenstain Bears. Yeah. I remember seeing books with the Berenstain title on them, but that's not. And like, there's images, and of course, like, I mean, Photoshop exists, so it doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot.
But also, like, I used to watch the show when I was little.
Oh, I forgot there was a show. That's right.
Yeah, the Berenstain Bears.
That's absolutely what you remember it being?
What I remember it being, yeah.
It's so weird. I wonder if there's video. I'd like to look up video. Maybe I'll put a link or something if I can find it. Well, like, video of like the Berenstain Bears, like that being visible in a video or something like that. Well, no, because
people have, like, the thing is with the theory, anything you look up right now is going to say Berenstain Bears no matter what.
Right. So we'll get into all of that, but that's the thing, is like, I'm trying to see if I can find any like relics of the past, or like archaic old things.
People have done that before. I'm on TikTok all the time, and I've been on Mandela Effect TikTok, and I think it's just a stupid like editing trick or whatever. But people like hold up Nokia phones to like the new logos, and they show you the old logos. Or whatever.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's fun. Let's see if we can find some other interesting ones. There's like similar things about like the Flintstones.
What is that one with the Flintstones?
People remember it as being the Flintstones, but it's the Flintstones, like with a T afterwards, because they're based off, like, it's Flint and Stone.
Yeah.
But a lot of people.
I remember Flintstones.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like, a lot of people believe that some elements of the Mandela effect can be explained through just like the way that the human brain encodes and retains information.
And like skips over some very subtle sounds.
Yeah, and the English language does that too. Like, it's easier for us to just kind of like skip over certain sounds when we're talking.
Go Flintstones instead of Flintstones.
Yeah, like, you don't have to pause and be like a Flintstone every single time, because people, if you say, oh, the Flintstones are on, people know what you're talking about.
Right.
It kind of is just like an easy way to like save on like air, I guess.
Or just be lazy, because that's what the American language is about, except for they're also super extra.
Well, it's not even necessarily that. It's just like, it's a linguistic thing. Other languages do it too. They'll like condense and modify certain sounds, because those sounds don't necessarily need to be like explained all the way through to someone who's a native speaker. We do the exact same thing, and I think that a lot of that is like, people remember it as the Flintstones because that's what we say, even though that's never actually what it's been.
Right.
That one I think can be explained. Some of these can as well. Berenstain would be the same exact thing. We remember it as the Berenstain Bears because that's just how we pronounced it.
Well, yeah, but also like it doesn't have the same thing where it's like they're like taking out vowels and adding them in. Really, it's just like they're swapping one vowel. It's Berenstein or Berenstain.
Yeah.
And so it's like I don't think that's a big enough change to be like, oh well, it's just how everyone said it. It's like no, because then everyone would have just fucking said Berenstain.
That is a different vowel sound too, which I think makes that one a little bit like I think heftier when it comes to like the Mandela effect having a weird effect. Looney Tunes is another similar example.
Okay.
People remember it as being Looney Tunes, Toons,
Yeah,
like cartoons.
Looney Tunes.
It is Looney Tunes, Tunes, like music.
No, it's
no,
not.
it is 100%. It is Looney Tunes. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, I've like looked up logos and shit and everything. It's Tunes.
I always remember it being Toons.
Me too. Yep, that's what I watched when I was a kid. I was that kid that like was like Bugs Bunny stupid. Like I don't care about Bugs Bunny,
really like
but I would watch
Tunes,
I would watch Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoons and like absolutely brink of piss myself laughing all the time. I thought that was the funniest shit when I was a kid.
Well, I hated Looney Tunes.
I didn't,
and
really
I still kind of hate Looney Tunes.
I liked Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, and I liked Baby Looney Tunes for like a period of time.
But I would have also been that asshole kid that if it was spelled Looney Tunes, I'd be like, why? They don't fucking sing.
They don't really sing. Yeah, they have like episodes where they're at the opera.
It's a cartoon.
They don't really sing. Yeah, you're kind of
so like,
right.
Why the fuck would they spell it Tunes?
Yeah, because I just have a lot of memories of like episodes where they were like at the opera.
Oh, is it because like you're tuning in or something like that?
Well, yeah, it's also that.
That's stupid.
Yeah. It could, that I didn't even think about it. That it could be like tuning in as opposed of, although tune. Oh no, to tune in. Tuning, but that's the same thing as tuning like a note in music. So yeah, I think the E would still be there. Yeah. So I think it is like tuning in, like you're tuning.
Well, that's dumb. Show. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. What's some other weird ones? It's kind of boring. Oh, here's a classic one. What is the most famous line from Star Wars Episode 5?
Oh, it's Luke, I am your father, or whatever.
Right. The classic. The classic line delivered in that deep baritone bass by James Earl Jones. Like the pinnacle moment where you understand the truth of the dynamic between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Spoilers, I guess. I know.
I don't think so. I'm
just fucking with them.
Or if so, just fucking watch the movies, goddamn.
Yeah, like watch Star Wars. It's a time. But yeah, that classic line never happened.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's not.
That's not how he said it.
He never says
the line happened, but that's not how he says it.
Right. He never says, "Luke, I am your father." It is Luke, or he mentions Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father, and there's a little bit more to it, but then Luke kind of is faced with the realization that like, oh, like there's no truth. Yeah,
it's impossible.
He did. He told me you killed him. And then Darth Vader delivers his line, "No, I am your father." Never once says Luke's name. But that's it. That's the line. That's that. And if you go back and you watch Star Wars Episode 5, he's never going to say, "Luke, I am your father." That never happened. Maybe it did. But it doesn't anymore.
I know, you keep saying it never happened, and I'm like, it probably fucking did.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to the conspiracy theory part.
I think people understand it by now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but there's so much more to it. I'm going to do one more, like, really interesting example before we kind of, like, dive away from that. Unless you have any more that you think you want to pick up on.
No, I don't think so.
So this one's a little bit, like, it requires a little bit of backstory. But it's a very vivid memory that I have. And I was like, no, that definitely happened. And then I went and I did research and I looked for it. And not only is like very few people talking about it, yet again, a guest star appearance from Percy.
Here, you tell the theory. I'm going to go fucking get our ghost out of here.
So I
Come here, you pig.
I had to do the research on this one because I've seen videos about this one that happened in a reality, I guess, that isn't real. But no one's talking about it. No one's talking about this video that I swear I remember seeing. No one is talking about the event, or at least like no one's talking about it in the way that I remember it. But are you familiar with the mystery of the Lindbergh baby?
I feel like I've heard about that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know for sure.
So, in 1932, a famous American aviator, meaning dealt with planes and blimps and shit like
Yeah.
that. His name is Charles Lindbergh, very famous American sort of like.
And he lost his baby.
Yes, his 20-month-old son. So like
his 20-month-old.
20-month-old son.
You mean his like 2-year-old?
Yeah, but like he's not quite 2 years old. That's a thing.
I hate it.
That's not weird.
No, it's weird, and I don't like it.
When they're babies, like you're not going to measure them in years. They're 1 year and 2 years. So many changes happen between a month when you're a baby.
Well, you can say he's like 1 year and 6 months.
That's longer to say than 20 months.
So dumb. Then I have to sit here and think about how many actual years old he is. Just fucking tell me how old your kid is. Don't count all the months. He's 50 months old.
Well, they wouldn't go to 50 because that's.
He's 127 months old.
That's a totally.
I'm gonna figure out how many fucking months old I am, and that's how I'm gonna tell people how old I am from now on.
It's a totally normal way to refer to kids.
No, it's not.
Once they hit like 24 months, that's 2 years, then it's like, fuck it, doesn't matter.
No, absolutely not. No, if you ever refer to how old our children are in months, I'm not letting you see them for that many more months.
Oh my god. This is the hill you're gonna die on.
Yes,
Huh?
It's so stupid.
Okay. I didn't know I brushed a sore spot.
You struck a nerve, and now I'm mad.
That's so funny.
It's fucking stupid.
Okay.
That's how I'm telling people my age till I'm dead.
We're gonna have to do some math later.
I'm 1,658 months old.
Busting out the abacus later.
Oh,
it's gonna be a long night for us.
Now, how many fucking months old I am? Tell me the rest of the thing. I'm gonna figure it out.
Oh my god. Okay. Are you gonna listen to the story?
Yes.
Okay. I might quiz you. I'm not gonna actually quiz you. That's
I'm listening.
Okay. So his son was kidnapped.
Uh-huh.
That was sort of like this big national mystery. This was in newspapers. They had search parties all over the place. They were investigating tons of people. I think the FBI got involved.
Okay.
If the FBI existed. I don't remember if it existed in the 1930s. I think it did. A host of people remember the event being a cold case.
Okay.
They remember like interviewing certain people and like having an idea that maybe that was the person that was involved with it, but that wasn't the case. That isn't what happened. In fact, sadly, the toddler's body was actually found a little more than 2 months after the kidnapping took place. According to an autopsy report, he had been killed by a blow to the head not long after being abducted.
Okay.
So they found the child. He was dead. Case closed. They never found the killer, but case closed. Everyone remembers it being a cold case. They remember them not finding the body. They remember not finding the killer. They remember not having any leads and the thing just going dark. There never being any information. It's easy enough to explain it, and I would have even justified it as like, okay, people remember the killer not being found. So they assume the killer wasn't found. The body also wasn't found. People have a tangential understanding of the situation, but not a full detailed explanation. It's easy for them to like shove that in the back of their head and be like, that was a cold case because they never found the killer. And then when they are later presented with information that the child's body was found, then they're like, okay, no, it's totally fine. But where it got weird for me, because I can explain that. That's logical, that's rational to me. Example of the Mandela Effect and our brains tricking us. I specifically remember one of the very first BuzzFeed Unsolved videos that I ever watched back in like 2011, maybe 2010. I was still in high school. Was a BuzzFeed Unsolved video about the Lindbergh baby and the missing child. in that video, the two stars
Ryan.
What?
Isn't it? It's Ryan and
Well,
Shane.
It's Ryan and Shane, but it might have been a different person because I think they were
in the
different
beginning,
before.
yeah.
I think I remember Ryan Bergera.
Yeah, Shane came in later on.
Yeah, I think that might have been. Well, it also could have been Shane. One of them was on it, and it was a different guy.
Yeah, there was somebody else in the few first episodes.
I think it was two white dudes.
Yeah. What?
It might have been two white dudes. So it would have been Shane and somebody probably, right?
No, Shane wasn't in there until way later on, and also I'm pretty sure.
That could be
the other guy is not white.
Well, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure. Right?
But he was always on it.
Yeah. Oh, he was. It could be another example of me misremembering it.
Maybe.
But I do remember it being BuzzFeed Unsolved. I do remember it being about the Lindbergh baby. I remember them interviewing a neighbor, and then the neighbor was involved in some shit, and then there was some newspaper clippings that they had where they were giving ransom notes for the child, and the ransom was never met, and they kept withholding the child, and then they were disappeared for a period of time, and the neighbor went dark, but then he came back and everything was fine, and they couldn't find any evidence, and they were trying to pin the neighbor for it, but they couldn't get enough evidence to pin it on him, and they had no way to prove it. But there was a couple of things that it was this whole long video. It might have been a half hour long, and they went into detail about the Lindbergh baby, and it was a cold case. It was on BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Right.
It was not a solved case.
Yeah.
That video doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I have a vivid memory of all these things. I remember some of the people. I remember some of the stuff that was getting discussed. I remember the Charles Lindbergh's neighbor was this kind of middle-aged to older German guy, and people thought that maybe it was a racist thing because it was the 1930s. We had just a decade before gotten off of World War I, and we were heading into World War II. So there was a lot of anti-German sentiment that existed because of the close proximity of the wars, and so there was kind of a talk about oh well, you're putting this on me because I'm a German immigrant. And I remember this whole detailed plot line and everything. The video's not real. All I could find was a Reddit thread where someone asked about things that they would like the BuzzFeed Unsolved guys to cover, and someone was like, oh, they should totally do one about the Lindbergh baby. It's so weird that they've never done that before, from 2018.
Well, I have something kind of similar to that where I can't remember what it's called. It's the one dude that it was a Mandela Effect too. It was he went to an airport and he was from this place called
oh my god, it's the something man. It's a name of a location.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the place he was from.
Yeah.
And he tried to point out where they because he had a passport from this place, and it was legit. And so, but he couldn't get on a plane to go there because it doesn't exist.
The man from Taured.
Taured.
Taured. I highly recommend looking this story up for those of you who are listening. This is very fascinating.
And I remember the BuzzFeed guys doing a video on it because I watched it.
Yeah.
And that's how I figured out about the fucking case in the first place.
Was about the BuzzFeed guys doing this. A lot of BuzzFeed.
Well, the thing, too, is I guess they could just be deleting videos, and especially if they did that, the one that you did in the beginning, I could see them potentially deleting it. But also then, wouldn't there be people on, the Reddit being why'd they take the video down or something like that?
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, I never actually looked at the man from Taured.
But I did.
Itself,
that's the only reason I know what that case is.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I could check, we could check see if the video had just been deleted.
Yeah, I guess.
But
I remember because we were talking about effects, and I was like, ooh, I have to show you because we watch BuzzFeed Unsolved, obviously.
Right.
It's some of the only content I take in because it's fun. But I was like, I have to show you this video about the dude from Taured.
Right.
And I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, okay,
it's not here.
It's not there. Unless I just ended up missing it, which I'll fucking look for it again really quick.
Right.
And actually see if it's up. But I looked for it everywhere, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't there. And I was like, No, I definitely watched this video.
And the thing is,
and
like,
there's no other reason I would know about
right.
this case.
And the thing is, like, this is an example of like the story exists. You can go read about the man from Torrid. There's articles about it. There's information about it. We've seen TikToks about it.
Well, I never seen TikToks about it until I looked it up trying to freaking look up the BuzzFeed video, and then I just looked up a TikTok video real quick so I could show you what it was about.
Right.
But like, I've never seen anything advertised to me about it except for that BuzzFeed video.
Yeah, and where it gets weird and where this is all going to tie in is basically the gist of the man from Torrid is a man gets off of his plane at an airport in Japan. He approaches the security guards and basically says something along the lines of like he
got a ticket to take him to his but there was no planes for it or something.
Yeah, he was looking for a connecting flight to Torrid. He said he was from the country of Torrid and he can't seem to find his terminal. The primary language they described, the mysterious person was Caucasian looking with a beard, and he mainly spoke French when he approached the guards. But he also did occasionally speak Japanese and several other languages. Officials were confused because they had never before seen or heard of the country of Torrid. It was not a country that existed, but he had a legitimate passport from Torrid, and he had boarding documents that he was from this place. Gave him a map and asked him to point to his country on the map, and he immediately pointed to the area occupied by the Principality of Andorra. Andorra is a small principality. It's a small country that's on the border between France and Spain. And he insisted that his country has been in existence for 1,000 years and had no idea why it was called Andorra on the map. He argued for a very long time with them, refused to give in about it. They ended up looking at his documents and personal belongings. They took him into custody. They confiscated his stuff for further information. To ensure that he didn't escape, they placed 2 guards by his door and gave him a hotel room to stay in while they investigated his stuff.
And it was like on a 7th floor or something.
Yeah, it was like on a really high up floor in the hotel, so that the guy couldn't just like jump out or anything like that, like because he would die.
But like they served him meals.
And they talked to him. They looked for him. The following morning, he was gone. All of his belongings and documents were gone. They couldn't find him. They couldn't find any trace of him. He just vanished into thin air the following morning. And the prevailing theory about this individual is that he got on a plane in one universe or timeline and ended up in a different timeline. And that was ours. That's the gist of that story,
and kind of the gist of the Mandela Effect.
Yeah, like it feels like some of these things
are from different timelines.
Maybe they were true in another universe, but they're not necessarily true in this one yet.
Also, I'm 328 months old.
You are, oh my god. Okay, we're gonna just tell everyone that we'll have to have like a 320 month, 328 month birthday for you.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a monthly birthday for you now. You're gonna get tons of presents. You should be really excited.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you're gonna get all sorts of flowers. It's gonna be real nice for you. But yes, that's where the conspiracy theory element of this kicks in, because when it comes down to it, some of these aspects of the Mandela effect can be explained away by the way our brain interprets and remembers and contextualizes things. Some of it can be explained by just people having bad memories. But some of this stuff, these memories are so vivid that it's almost like it couldn't have been imagined. It's almost like the only explanation is that it was something that was experienced by a different version of ourselves. And that's where we get into the conspiracy theory. This all ties in See, the weird thing about conspiracy theories I've found is that a lot of them feed into each other. Once you
Mm-hmm.
believe one conspiracy theory, it gets a lot easier to believe other conspiracy theories. So we're gonna entertain that. We're gonna dive into that notion. Does everybody remember? I mean, I'm asking you like you can tell me. Um, but everybody remembers back in 2012 when everyone was freaking out because that was when Nostradamus had predicted that that was the end of the calendar and that there was no longer going to be any time
Mm-hmm.
after the year 2012. That 2012 was the end of the world. Something catastrophic was going to happen. We were all going to die.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
We were fine. Nothing bad happened to us. Nothing exploded. There was no nuclear holocaust. There was everything was fine.
Yes.
Another very interesting thing occurred to the world in 2012. A very unique scientific discovery was made in the year 2012.
Okay.
It sort of flew under the radar. Not to the scientific community, but to your average everyday person. Wasn't a thing that really mattered all that much. What do you know about the Large Hadron Collider? You familiar
Uh,
with this device?
isn't it like something that like makes a black hole or like something like that?
See that's no, maybe yes, but no. Um, so the Large Hadron Collider is, and this is according to Wikipedia, it is the world's largest and highest energy particle collider, and it is the largest machine in the world. It was built by the European Organization for Nuclear Research, which turned into an acronym and translated into Swedish, I think, is CERN, CERN.
Okay.
It was built in 1998, and I believe, well, they were building it between 1998 and 2008, and then it became operational after that. Over 10,000 scientists, hundreds of universities and laboratories, more than 100 countries pitched in to construct this basic, physics engine. It lies in a tunnel 27 kilometers, which is 17 miles around, and as deep as 574 feet beneath Geneva on the France and Switzerland border.
Okay.
The purpose of this device is to basically high speed both use the rotation of this massive device to create a sort of centrifuge where you're literally splitting particles apart into their base components instead of being one solid piece. You're kind of trying to pull the molecules apart from each other so they spin independently, so you can separate particles of mass from each other and individually study them,
Okay.
while also slamming them together at fucking high speeds to see what happens. It is an experimentation device.
Yeah, sounds fucking smart.
Mm-hmm. Now I mean, it's something
that was sarcasm.
Right. It's something that is only handled by extremely I don't understand the physics of it, so I'm certainly making it sound a lot more chaotic and uncontrolled as it is.
I mean, you don't have to say it extravagantly. It just sounds stupid.
I don't necessarily think so. There's a lot of things that have been discovered by particle collisions and different experiments that they've done with it that they've taken quite a while to work with, because I mean you're working with something that's relatively dangerous, and so there has to be safe measures and proper calculations and everything to make sure that everything that you're doing isn't going to cause some sort of catastrophic collapse. 2012 was when it got a little weird. In 2012, the scientists who were working in the Large Hadron Collider, the scientists at CERN, discovered the existence of a theoretical particle. It is called, it's a theoretical particle that existed in a theoretical space, called a Higgs boson.
Okay.
A boson is a type of theoretical physical particle. Higgs was the scientist who developed the understanding of this thing called the Higgs field, which was sort of like a subatomic field of energy that added mass to things. It allowed certain things to have certain weights and sizes and effects on their surroundings, while other things didn't. The Higgs boson is basically a particle that is to my understanding, the smallest that a particle can be while having it's the minimum amount of mass while also having the maximum amount of impact on its surroundings. Certain things, like if things don't have mass, they can't really interact with things. They don't have any physical tangibility to them, so they can't hit stuff. They can't leave an impact on things. They can't interact with each other.
Right.
The Higgs boson would be the smallest particle that can exist that also can interact with or affect things while also being really, really, really small. And they believe that it was because it's something that just it had a certain frequency that interacted with this Higgs field, and when it rings at a certain frequency, it collects mass from this field, and kind of like particles can that are a little bit higher frequency or a little bit lower frequency can either grow much, much larger and then turn into different things, or effectively not exist at all.
Okay.
Lots of physics jargon. But the discovery of this particle proved a long-standing scientific theory and had a major impact on how the study of physics went forward when it came to things like obtaining mass and interacting with the world around them.
Okay.
But it had the unfortunate side effect of they weren't really sure if maybe it might do a black hole. So they were really careful about how they fucked around with it, but everyone was in the scientific community, and also I remember this a little bit because my science teacher in 2012 I was in my freshman year of college, so it was one of my prerequisite science professors. But they were kind of interested in the Higgs boson. They thought it was kind of fascinating. They thought maybe it would be super neat if scientists could create a localized black hole. They were a little
wow,
crazy.
super neat.
Yeah, they were a little crazy.
Yeah, I love that you explained it in the very beginning. I go, wow, that sounds stupid. And you go, no, just wait till I explain it. They could make a black hole. And I go, wow, that's better. Thanks. Sounds good. Sounds fun. Sounds like something that I really would like them to fuck with.
Hannah has a healthy distrust of scientists, I suppose.
See, the thing is, I love science. People are fucking stupid.
Healthy distrust of people. There it is.
They're gonna oh god, give anything to a human and they'll destroy it. Oh, we could make a black hole. This okay? We'll fuck with it safely. Smash, 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 smash. Oh shit, we made a black hole.
That's literally what the Large Hadron Collider does. It smashes things together.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Jesus Christ.
But that's kind of where the basis of this conspiracy theory is built off of.
Mm-hmm.
At the same year when Nostradamus predicts, and everyone was talking about oh, he made this prediction and it came true. He did this.
It's supposed to be the Mayan calendar or something like that.
Well, that was the thing. The Mayan calendar ended there, and Nostradamus's writings kind of predicted they there was something about a writing of him saying the Mayans predicted the end of civilization.
It was their calendar ended on that specific day or something like that.
And
well, no, it's really fun.
What's that?
That day that the Mayan calendar ended and they had all these death predictions and stuff for us.
Yeah.
That was my the day of my senior prom.
Oh, jeez, that must have been an exciting one.
We all thought that it was going to be a zombie apocalypse, and we had
Oh, so did everyone go in riot gear to the prom?
No, but we had one of our friends bring his big van, and we had an escape plan in case shit happened, and
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That honestly sounds like that'd be a lot of fun. That sounds like that really spices up prom a lot.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Or bats and we had all sorts of stuff.
Oh, you had bats in the van?
We had stuff in the van, ready to go. Just
were you guys upset when the zombie apocalypse didn't happen?
No.
It was fun while it lasted. The ride was the.
We were just ready.
Yeah.
And nothing happened, and then we just went home.
You would have survived.
Well, maybe not, but we were ready for it. So
if anyone,
we were more ready than anyone else at prom, anyway.
That's true. And that's all you needed to be, because that's where that outbreak's going to hit. You just take all of them out with your bats.
Well, also,
and your
we were
van.
real close to a Walmart, so just go to the Walmart,
Hell
do a raid.
Yeah, you fill up the van with some snack cakes, and you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
I kind of want to talk about the zombie apocalypse now. It's okay.
Another podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a zombie apocalypse episode later. We can talk about how zombies are super overblown.
I spent a lot of my teenage life preparing for the zombie apocalypse. I had a to-go bag.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, it would have been fine to have in case of other disasters, too. I had canned food and extra clothes and a machete and a bat and all sorts of shit in there, just like aid, like I had like a bag of first aid, like I had all sorts of stuff.
Hell yeah. I did not. If a zombie apocalypse happened, I just wanted to die. Like I'm saying, I don't want to fucking deal with that. That's like a lot of running, which I don't super love. I'd have to like eat like canned soup.
Yeah.
Which like is fine for like a couple days, and then I'm just kind of over it.
We had a little test run with eating cans of food when we had like a typhoon that went through, and we didn't have. Well, it was like at the beginning of the school year. It was like August or something. One of these years.
Holy shit!
Yeah, something like that. It was, or no, it wasn't a typhoon. I'm so sorry. It was a tropical storm.
Oh, okay. I was like typhoon.
I was mixing the one that happened in Japan when we went to Japan. Because there was a typhoon then.
Yeah, you did experience a typhoon in Japan.
But no, it was a tropical storm, and it was like at the beginning of the school year. I can't remember which year it was, but we were supposed to go back to school in like real late August, but we like lost power in the middle of August, and we didn't get it back until like the middle of September or some bullshit.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time like just in the dark eating canned ravioli. So
shit. I think I kind of remember that. I don't know what year that was either. But I do remember there being nasty storms at the beginning of the school year.
Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, the tangents are half the reason why they come to this podcast. But yeah, so anyway, where were we?
You were talking about how they were going to make a black hole.
Thanks, ADHD. Okay, so yeah, so at that point, everyone was concerned about Nostradamus' predictions. They were convinced, not, and I say everybody, I mean like conspiracy theorists, really. And then people who thought it was like a hilarious meme.
And me, because I have real bad anxiety, and I heard about it.
And you're like, this could be it.
I heard about it at least 7 years prior, and I was like, man, I'm gonna, like, I spent, with all the conspiracy theories about us, like, dying in time, I spent, no wonder I have fucking anxiety. I spent, like, more than half of my, like, childhood to teenage years just assuming I was gonna die very soon.
Yeah, I wonder if that had an effect on us as a generation.
Maybe.
Spoilers, it totally did. We're all so fucked up.
They were like, oh yeah, like the whole thing about us dying in 2000, and I was like only 7 years old.
Oh, Y2K.
And then they're like, oh, well, we also like might all die in like 2012, and so I was like counting down the years.
Yeah, I remember Y2K. I thought my computer was going to eat me, but I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't want them to think I was crazy. Thought my computer was going to rise up and eat me. We had like a fucking Windows.
I thought they were all going to blow up.
We had a Windows 98 like white, one of those big nasty like white boxes with the shitty concave monitors. Oh. And I was like, it's gonna rise up and just start killing me.
Well, we didn't even have a computer. I just thought all the computers were going to blow up, and that somehow like the explosion was going to be so big.
I totally thought my computer was going to come to life. I'd watched like Terminator or something.
Yeah, right. Fucking people have been trying to make computers come alive for years, and it hasn't happened.
Well, maybe in another timeline.
Yeah, maybe it did.
But yeah, so basically...
They were trying to not make a black hole.
Right. But
in quotes.
There were some scientific theories, not really sure if any of them held true, but that basically the fuckery around like the kind of like the black holes that could have been created by this Higgs boson particle, actually had some sort of like nearly temporal impact. That there was potentially a way for this particle to exist in a dimension where time was like a flowing object or like a static property of it, as opposed to a thing that like affected and happened around it. And so therefore it could like kind of shift around in time, going back and forwards along an axis of time. And so therefore the particle itself had time travel properties or time maneuvering properties.
Okay.
So the conspiracy theory basically says, what if when the Higgs boson particle was discovered in 2012, Nostradamus' prediction and the Mayans' prediction came true? The world, our timeline, as we know it, ceased to be. And everyone who existed as seamlessly as possible so as to not disrupt the physical balance of the universe, slipped into a different timeline. And these memories, the Mandela Effect, the aspects of our memories that we've constructed from times usually before this, that those memories are just the leftover remnants of things that happened in the previous timeline,
right?
The timeline that no longer exists. And so I would like to present my personal favorite conspiracy theory. The world ended in 2012 and we exist in an alternate timeline, and also there are other alternate timelines.
Yeah,
That's
I believe that, for sure.
It's totally a thing. It's totally a thing. I actually have, to go along with that and to kind of like capitalize on top of that, I have a Twitter thread.
Okay.
That actually was the first thing that introduced me to this concept.
Okay.
It is by a Twitter user by the name of Nick Hinton. It was posted back in July of 2019, the before times. Basically, he talks about like getting an urge to look into and read some old stuff, but he can't seem to find any of this stuff anymore.
Okay.
Similar to how I can't find that BuzzFeed video, you can't find your Man from Torrid video. It's something we remember vividly, but it's not real. And apparently, it wasn't real. He talks about the Higgs boson particle, and also references then. He at that point he was alive. He has since passed.
Oh.
But not this other author, but Stephen Hawking, scientist Stephen Hawking. He predicted that the Higgs boson particle could, in his own words, quote, cause the universe to undergo catastrophic vacuum decay. Basically meaning a black hole would open up and then be uncontrollable, and that slowly but surely all matter would eventually be drawn towards that center point, and slowly but surely everything in the vast recesses of all of like imperceptible existence would slowly be unmade by a black hole. The theory that he came up with, and I'm going to give him the credit for
him
it.
Or Stephen Hawking? You're talking about two guys.
Sorry. The Twitter user Nick Hinton.
Okay. His theory.
Yeah, he simply mentioned that Stephen Hawking said this particle could cause catastrophic.
You're just talking about two different people and both calling them him. So.
Sorry, my bad. I'm getting ahead of myself. What would happen? He basically was like, okay, would we know if the universe was destroyed? Like, if it was destroyed, wouldn't we have had this like sort of catastrophic event that occurred that just kind of like ripped us apart and like tore the whole universe?
Yeah, then that'd be the end.
Yeah, that would be it. Like, it would all explode. He believes, and he found some information that several physicists also believe it is a possibility, that CERN, in fucking around with the Higgs boson, accidentally created a black hole that sucked us into it without us even noticing, and we're just living in it.
Okay.
We're living in a alternate reality beyond this like matter vacuum that is imperfect mirror of our own reality. There's this cliche feeling that a lot of us have that nothing's really felt right since 2012. It's easy to chalk it up to like we're getting older, we're getting a little bit more cynical. There's a lot of like, like
the world's changing and getting worse.
We all graduated from high school around that time, so like we went out into the real world. We like dealt with a bunch of shit. We started working a lot. We were like, dealing with the regular mundanity of everyday adult life, and that's exhausting.
Right.
Makes things feel a little weird. But it really does seem like the world has been like kind of getting a little bit shittier slowly every day since then. There's a theory that maybe we're in some sort of simulation. Maybe this is like Like, what's that TV show that everyone keeps telling me to watch? The Good Place.
Okay.
That, like, it's kind of like an afterlife. Like, we're there and we're, like, living this kind of, like, yeah, like, everything's fine. We're, like, going about our everyday, but we're not. We're actually in, like, a fabrication of our own mind. We're all fucking dead.
Uh-huh.
And none of this is real. Nick Hinton goes on to discuss many more examples of the Mandela Effect. Looney Tunes we mentioned, Mandela we mentioned. He talks about like Skechers, the sneaker brand.
Uh-huh.
Sketcher is what
Uh-huh.
people remember. There's no second T.
Uh-huh.
Same thing with J.C. Penney. People remember it just being penny, like the coin, instead of Penney,
Oh.
which is what it actually is.
Uh-huh.
Things like that. That's examples of how the Mandela Effect is potentially memories of a subconscious past, memories of an alternate timeline that no longer exists, or of a world that we once lived in, but now we are in a simulation of our own existence.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets a little creepy.
Okay.
This is my favorite example. This is the one that he came up with, and this is what got me like fascinated in this theory. I want you to answer a simple question for me, and then we've talked about it before, so you know the answer. But like, humor us.
Okay. Go.
Humor the listeners. Where is the Statue of Liberty located?
New York.
Where in New York? What island?
I can't remember what it's called.
All of you who had a like traditional U.S. education who were listening, you remember Ellis Island, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Like everyone remembers like, oh yeah, we would hear stories about like
kids in our like grade went to like on field trips.
Field trips to Ellis Island.
Yeah.
That was a cool place. That was like an interesting place to go in like a history class when you were a kid. Like on a field trip. You like, especially because like we live in New England, so we're really close to New York. It's not that hard for a bunch of like elementary school kids to hop on a bus and go to Ellis Island.
Yeah.
We remember stories of like immigrants coming to the United States on a boat and passing underneath Lady Liberty's torch and disembarking on Ellis Island and being checked in and getting their paperwork and like coming to officially become a part of this like this land of opportunity, or so it was described to us. Ellis Island, in a lot of ways, for those of you who had a traditional American education, was synonymous with immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always connected to the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty stood over and welcomed people in. There were poems about it, like famous poems.
More poems.
Yeah, like
even more poems.
I was trying to quote. There's a lot of poems. I was trying to quote that one really famous one that everyone talks about, but I'm going to butcher it if I don't look.
I don't even probably know it.
But Ellis Island was synonymous with immigrants, which was connected to the Statue of Liberty. Yeah. They were all together. The Statue of Liberty is not located on Ellis Island.
Which is bullshit.
In fact, technically, in this timeline, it never has been. It is located on something called Liberty Island.
Which I've never fucking heard of a day in my life.
And honestly, please, because I need a dose of reality here when it comes to this to ground me. If anyone here is unfamiliar with this whole theory and has heard of Liberty Island, please let me know.
Yeah, like if you remember being taught that the Statue of Liberty was on this island and you always thought it was and you knew it was, like, oh, yeah. Fucking tell me.
Not even that. Like, just if you know what Liberty Island is. I didn't know Liberty Island existed. I knew about Ellis Island, and that's it. But it's not on Ellis Island. It's on Liberty Island.
I've also heard of people that, like, have recollections of being able to go up into the torch of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, I'm going to get to that one, too. Yeah. That's even spicier.
And apparently you can't.
I have, and I might try to post a link to it. It's a Twitter thread, but there's an image here that I think there's a couple of images that I think are particularly poignant, and I will link to the thread so you can read it in the description below. There is a painting that he posts here that depicts the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
There's a like a large building. There's boats in a open water channel, and there is something that to any New Yorker is clearly recognizable as Ellis Island.
Mm-hmm.
And the Statue of Liberty is right on top of Ellis Island,
Mm-hmm.
and there are no other islands nearby.
Yeah, like isn't that the one people were like, oh, that could have just been like artist like rendition or whatever. It could have been like them taking their own.
Yeah, like it could have been artist interpretation.
Yeah, but it's like also probably not, because even if it was, they'd probably include the other islands.
Yeah, but there's not another one. It's just Ellis Island, and it's there. This may not still work. It depends on if the timeline has corrected itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I have images of it in this individual's thread. If you go onto Google Maps Street View,
mm-hmm.
and you go to Liberty Island, which is a visible island that you can access through Google Maps, there are a few specific areas of Liberty Island where you are supposed to be able to see the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a pathway that extends down a long distance towards a large open area, and nothing. There's nothing there. If you then zoom ahead a little bit,
you can see it again.
You can see the statue, but there are some parts where it's just gone.
It's just
and
an
it's
island.
An empty, open courtyard.
Okay.
Nothing in it. Residue from the previous timeline, perhaps?
Yeah.
There is a account that is uploading those pictures to Google Street Maps, because you can upload individual pictures.
Right.
The account that is uploaded the pictures that don't have the Statue of Liberty in it was the username Auguste Bartholdi.
Okay.
Which is the name of the man who created the Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
It is his picture from the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows who that is, but that person is posting images of Liberty Island with no statue. All of the other images are other contributors.
Okay.
Perhaps more recent. Another crazy tidbit about the Statue of Liberty, which you had mentioned before, was people have memories. And there's Reddit threads about this. There's links to Reddit threads about this in this little, this informational thing that he provides here, that Nick Hinton provides. The Statue of Liberty's torch. People have vivid memories of climbing, of like being able to go inside the Statue of Liberty and go all the way up and go into the torch and look out.
Mm-hmm.
They can look out from the torch. They can take pictures inside the torch. It was a tourist attraction. People have memories of it. There's reviews, one of which from March 18th, 2012, talking about, oh yeah, when I visited as a team, you could climb all the way up to the torch. And I remember like going abroad to study and seeing the statue when we came home, and like I remember I had a memory of going up to that torch. A bunch of people talking about another one from 2010 of people going up to the torch, and this one's interesting because it's connected to what I'm about to say. Going all the way up to the torch on the Statue of Liberty and looking out and seeing ground zero from the 9/11 attacks, seeing like the what remained of the Twin Towers. Dozens. There's at least dozens here of like people being like, this happened. There is a newspaper that is also in this thread from the year, I believe, 1918. Yes, I think it is 1918. Right before the United States entered World War I, the Germans committed the first, sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts. They committed the first act of terrorism on U.S. soil in history. It was supposedly considered one of the largest artificial non-nuclear explosions to ever occur. I don't remember learning about it. I don't remember studying it. But there it is right here. Big munitions explosions at Black Tom. 50 believed dead. 21 hurt. Damage $75 million. Which back in 1918 was like a fuckload.
Okay.
But it was a huge explosion. And the explosion was specifically considered to be the first terrorist attack on U.S. soil, which is strangely something that I remember people saying all the time about the 9/11 attacks. That the 9/11 was the first ever terrorism,
first terrorism.
The first ever terrorism. It was the first ever act of terrorism committed on U.S. soil, which is patently untrue because supposedly this happened during World War I and the Germans did it.
Yeah. Well, I don't even remember. This is the fucking first thing I've heard about that.
But what's interesting about it is because of that explosion, the people of New York were worried that something as iconic as the Statue of Liberty would be a very easy target for German weaponized submarines. And so as a response, in order to protect American citizens, they closed the torch. You could no longer climb. You used to be able to climb up to the torch. 1918, after that attack, they closed off the torch and you couldn't climb up there anymore. They didn't do tours up there. They didn't let people go up there because they were afraid that if it was attacked, people would be trapped up there and there would be a massive catastrophe.
And it has been closed since.
It has never opened again. That is a historical fact. You can they have you can like call Liberty Island. You can call the people who are like involved with tourism.
I literally almost corrected you.
What's that? I know. Yeah, you were going to say Ellis Island, right? Yeah. You can call them and you can ask them if they do tours, and they will say we haven't done them in over 100 years. But yet there are people who have vivid memories. In some cases, and you'll see.
I forgot to count it in months.
In the Twitter, yeah, I forgot to count it in months. Even pictures of them being at the top of the torch, looking down at Ground Zero. Yeah. You know, the first terrorist attack on U.S. soil.
Right.
But this other thing is also true.
Yeah.
Apparently, somehow.
But apparently, by all other accounts, both of those facts are not true.
Either both of them are true or not true, or both of them are. But one happened in one timeline, and one happened in another timeline. We came from the timeline where the statue was on Ellis Island, and 9/11 was the first terrorist attack on U.S. soil. And then 2012 happened, and now all of a sudden, the torch has been closed for forever. You're misremembering things. That never happened.
Well, there's a person on TikTok that I watched, or I ran into once, because that's how that works. But she was like saying she went back recently, not like pre-COVID, but not like a long time ago.
Right. And
she was gonna go up to the torch, and it was closed, and she's like, man, like, that sucks. Like, I remember going up there before, so like I wonder why they closed it. So she found somebody, and she asked them why they had closed it, and they were like, that's been closed, like, forever.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's not. I've been up there before. Like me and like my class or something when I was in high school.
Yeah, went like it's not even like, oh, I snuck up there. It's like we took a tour.
Yeah, like we went up there, and we why did you guys actually like close it recently? And they're like, no, it's always been closed. And it's like, no, it wasn't.
There's two more things related to the Statue of Liberty and how this all ties into this alternate timeline thing that are really fucky. First of all, there is a Twitter account at Statue Ellis FDN, capital FDN. It is the official Twitter account for an organization called the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation.
Oh, FDN. I was like, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
You may have heard of him. He's kind of
different timeline problems.
There it is. But this one is a foundation, Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation, that making the connection of Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, despite it supposedly being on Liberty Island. This Twitter account has been inactive since 2012.
Oh.
It has not posted since 2012. Their banner.
They just saw they like were doing the stupid website, and then they like looked out one morning and the statue's on the other end, and they go, fuck. So
and they're like, oh, damn it, we went into the new timeline. I thought they were going to fucking warn us about that. Now we got to update shit.
Well, guess we're just leaving the website.
I quit. And then they just didn't update the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the banner photo, and I will show it to you because it's insane.
Because I haven't seen any of these other photos.
You guys, I should just be showing you the post. You guys should take a look at this. Again, like I said, I'm going to be linking the Twitter thread, so you'll be able to see it. Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation, their banner photo is a shitload of people gathered on Ellis Island, walking up the steps
to the torch
to nothing.
Oh, to nothing. Oh shit.
There's nothing. They're gathered around, walking up the steps to where the Statue of Liberty would be. There is no statue there.
Oh.
This is their banner photo. It has been their banner photo since 2012.
And it's just gone.
The statue's just gone.
Yeah.
And presumably, before 2012, maybe there was a statue in the photo.
Like some little feet.
Yeah, maybe you could have seen the feet, part of the dress. But there's nothing there now. And then, directly under that, and this one I can't really show you. We can watch it later. I would love to show it to you later. It is a YouTube link.
People flying.
That'd be nuts. I would love to see that. There's a YouTube video, which is a slideshow. A collection of Facebook photos where people have tagged their Facebook location as Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island. And they're all just posing in front of or staring at nothing. It is blank, empty space, and there's nothing there. It's a whole slideshow collection of pictures and images that showcase all these people taking a fancy trip to Ellis Island to see the Statue of Liberty, and there's fucking nothing there.
Oh, God.
The timelines diverged.
That's what I want to know is it that we switched to a different timeline?
Mm-hmm.
We're living in a black hole.
Yeah, we could be living in a black hole that's like the Matrix, but weird.
Like, so is there like a version of me that did die in a different timeline during the black hole thing?
Well, it depends on which version of the theory you take to heart. If we went into the black hole, then technically we all died.
Okay.
And every single one of us is just kind of a subconscious collection of memories of elements of the previous timeline. And everything's getting shitter.
Everything's getting shitter.
Everything's going in the shitter. Everything's getting shittier year by year, like, in terms of, like, just the world and how everything kind of sucks now, especially with a fucking pandemic this year.
Right.
The world is getting shittier because of like natural ennui and decay. Like inevitably things break down, matter eventually dissolves over time.
Right.
If we're in the black hole, then everything's getting shittier because slowly but surely the matter that comprises our fabricated multiverse is slowly cracking and the cracks are getting bigger.
Okay.
And eventually
it'll just fall
reality
apart.
is just going to fall apart and every one of us is just going to like cease to exist.
Okay.
Or we exist in a timeline that just happens to have a bunch of shitty stuff happening. But we slipped into an alternate reality. We kind
just
of like
to the worst one.
Slipped in or merged. And then all of these elements of the Mandela Effect are just us remembering things from the previous timeline that then changed. But that change was ultimately imperfect. That there are things that didn't perfectly translate over when we swapped realms. It's entirely possible that a lot of the memories, if this theory is true, that a lot of the memories that we have of like our childhood or things that we did growing up or things that we experienced or enjoyed are just memories that were created and they never happened to us in the previous timeline. They're things that we fabricated to create a new history for ourselves in a new timeline. But we remember it like it was real. So this theory kind of like connects to other theoretical ideas of how like time works.
Okay.
That's another thing I should probably mention too, is that like this it isn't just about like alternate realities, it also kind of like messes around with like time bullshit.
Okay.
And like specifically how supposedly these particles that were interacted with in 2012 would have interfered with time or like kind of like caused the split in the timeline. Supposedly, This is not connected to the Higgs boson particle or to the Large Hadron Collider experiments or to anything like that. But this is something that kind of adds a little bit, like another layer to it. Supposedly, there is an individual by the name of Preston B. Nichols, who was he was a whistleblower who wrote several books detailing his secret involvement with time travel experiments at an Air Force base in the United States. According to some of his theories, and he was considered to be a crackpot because he's fucking writing about time travel, so nobody takes him seriously.
Right.
He claimed that when they were doing this was a while ago. I don't actually have a time from this source, but this would have been this probably would have been in like the 70s or the 80s or possibly even earlier.
Okay.
He claims that they were able to, at different points in time, successfully travel forward in time. Not physically, they were not able to transport a person there, but they were able to experience the future in some way, shape, or form. However, and keep in mind this would have been in the previous timeline, holding the theory true, they claimed they were never able to time travel past the year 2012 because they were unable to find a future beyond it.
Okay.
He described the experience of when they would try to go further than 2012, they hit a wall with nothing on the other side. They couldn't get past it. What makes this entire theory weird as fuck is that he gave the interview where he explained, oh yeah, we hit the wall in 2012, and that was it, we couldn't go past it. He gave that interview in 2014.
Oh.
It's a weird thing to say that we can't go, we could never go past that date when you've already made it past that date, right?
Yeah.
So
did he have anything to say about that, or
not so much? He mostly just said, like, I think he chalked it up to, and a lot of other people who were reading it at the time chalked it up to, like, we weren't able to make ourselves go past that point for some reason. And we don't know what was stopping us, but clearly we're here now, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But when you take that piece of evidence and connect it to all of this, that's, again, my point from earlier about how conspiracy theories kind of compound on each other. This is how they do it. That was like a weird thing. Someone could have made a conspiracy theory out of his whole statement and then moved on with their life. Now we look back at it and it connects to this. Of course, time couldn't go further because that timeline ended. We are now in a new timeline, which is why you're past it. But that timeline is gone now. You couldn't go further in that one. Also, fun fact: that guy's experiment. It was the Montauk Air Base. Was the name of it. The movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah.
And the famous Netflix television series Stranger Things. Both of them were loosely based off of these time travel experiments and this guy's writings.
Okay.
Like the stories that he told about the things that they did were connected to that. There's also a bunch of theories about this stuff that a couple of famous figures have talked about. Karl Marx has talked about it in some of his writings. Francis Fukuyama has talked about in some of his writings this concept of the end of history, which is a sort of a theoretical phenomenon where, like, events are still happening and the world is still existing. There's nothing really, like, that's causing a catastrophic end. But ultimately, humanity has achieved its peak. It has reached the end of societal-cultural evolution. It will not advance farther. And so the world just kind of, like, slowly falls into this stagnation period until inevitably, according to the theory, it just destroys itself and then history is rewritten from the beginning.
Right.
And there's kind of a prevailing theory now, especially with, like, how kind of crazy the world has been over the last, like, 10 or so years, that kind of humanity is starting to, or has reached that end point, that humanity has reached its peak of achievement. Um, yeah, so I mean, all of these things together, if I had to put my money on it, I don't think we're living in a simulation of a world that's destroyed. I think, like with the Mandela Effect and with the way that people experienced weird aspects of time, I think we literally just we slipped. We the timeline is.
I think we just jumped tracks.
Yeah, the timeline is a spider web. It's like a big spider web, and then it's the early morning, and there's all these little dewdrops, and they're like dripping off the spider web, and all the little dewdrops are like all the little dewdrops are a theory, or not a theory. All those dewdrops are like a point. They're an event. They're an aspect of history. And over there's a dewdrop where something totally different happened. And down here, there's another one where the opposite thing happened. And it's happening to everybody has their own spider web, and it's happening to every single person and every single possible decision that's ever been made. It's just a mess of infinite roads of possibility. And I think at some point, the collective conglomeration of roads that create our timeline and create the pinnacle of human decision-making processes that lead to our history, we literally just hopped from here to there. We entered like a flashpoint paradox of our own reality where things were slightly different. Somebody stepped on a butterfly at one point and shit got weird.
The thing is realities are probably just like train tracks that run beside each other.
It's probably a good way to look at it.
In ours, a fucking black hole went off and it probably just kicked the train onto a different track, and now we're just going on this one. And also a few things fell off or got exchanged with a different train.
And that's part of it too. But then there were people that they fell asleep. They fell asleep when the right before we hit the black hole, and the black hole shook, and they hopped on the other train line, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we're fine now. We got here. Everything's good. We're just kind of going along the track." And someone's like, "Yeah, but I'm pretty sure
that or they were already here.
Wasn't the train? Yeah, right. Yeah,
we connected to a train that was already going.
Yeah, exactly.
And some people were already from this one, and some people weren't.
People on this one were like, yeah, it'd be like people on this one were like, oh yeah, didn't we wasn't the fucking engine on fire? Some weird stuff happened, and now the engine's on fire. And then everyone else who was already on the train's like, oh, this engine's been fine. There's nothing wrong. No, it's not that it's been.
I know it's been okay.
Yeah, it's not. It never happened, and we're all like, no, I totally have a vivid memory. I literally have a picture on my phone of the engine being on fire, and then everyone else from here is like,
and then you look at the picture and it's not on fire, and then you're like,
look at the picture and you've got a fire extinguisher and you're spraying it and there's steam coming off of nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the fuck? That's basically what it is. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's my foray into the world of conspiracy theory, into the world of creepiness. So
it's so weird because I was actually thinking about parallel universes, alternate realities, butterfly effect things, because I was in the room and I was listening to stuff for my topic.
Ooh, next week's fun.
And I remembered a story from back when I was, we're not going to mention my age because I was drunk as fuck in the woods.
Okay. Clearly you are of a legal drinking age because you're a law-abiding citizen.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And I was drunk as hell with a few people in the woods, and we all had to pee at the same time. So the dudes went into one part of the woods, and me and my friend went to a different part of the woods.
Sure.
To fan out and try and pee.
Cover more ground that way.
And I was using the sky because the moon was full, so the sky was kind of bright. But,
yeah.
But it wasn't so bright that you could actually see.
Right, just it was night bright. You had a guiding light of sorts to help you.
It was bright enough where I could see tree silhouettes.
Okay.
And nothing else.
Sure.
If I looked at the sky, I could see the tree silhouettes. So I was trying to find one that would hold my weight, and I found a good one. I was like, that's the tree I'm going to hold on to so I can lean back and use the bathroom.
Right. And
so I went for it, and I guess I picked one that was down a hill.
Oh, shit.
So I was literally do-do-do-do-do-do, whoop, and I fucking fell off the fucking side, right. And I rolled all the way down the hill, and then I was fine. I mean, I got a few scratches. But,
sure, yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll climb back up. And then I climbed up, found a tree, used the bathroom, everything was fine, except I had a few scrapes. And I was like, is there like a different timeline that happened where I fucking smashed into a tree and killed myself?
Shit. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, it really depends on how you feel about, like, the concept of like every single decision being its own timeline. Because, like,
Butterfly effect.
yeah, well, yeah, if you buy into the theory that every single possibility that has ever
Has
existed in
like
your
at least
life
two outcomes.
has, well, not even that it has at least two outcomes, just that every single possibility is its own timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing that you theoretically could have done in all of your life would have its own timeline where you did that thing and then you moved on from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it branches essentially infinitely, because from there you can make an infinite number of decisions at any given point.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've made that decision, that creates infinite timelines. And then each of those timelines, you can then make an infinite number of decisions immediately afterwards. And so then that breaks into infinite timelines. So it's essentially like exponential infinity timelines. They're like like theoretically there could be a timeline where someone asks you if you want pancakes for breakfast, and you say you want waffles, and you say you want French toast, which is weird because you don't like French toast.
Yeah. Well, I'd say no to that one.
Right, but there's a timeline where you say yes, just because that's a
Because somewhere down the
possibility.
line, there's like a me that likes French toast.
Yeah, maybe something else happened that caused. Yeah, so there's another timeline. Maybe there's a timeline, and like you have to buy into that theory that literally anything can happen. Maybe there's a timeline where
I'm president.
yeah, right. But no, it's not even that. Like someone asks you if you want pancakes for breakfast, and there's a timeline where you say yes, and there's a timeline where you say, "Can I get waffles?" And there's a timeline where you say, "Can I get French toast?" And there's a timeline where you say, "Breakfast doesn't sound great. I think I want a steak sandwich." And there's a
I'm
timeline.
always on that timeline.
Yeah, right. And then there's a timeline where you say, "I don't want pancakes. I want orphan blood." And then someone brings you a vat of orphan blood because you're some sort of weird serial killer monster.
I like that timeline better. Not the orphan blood timeline, but
Are you sure? Because that was pretty quick.
No, I meant like that version of like thinking about reality. I like that better. Just
That,
assuming that there's a million, like absolutely
it's
infinite amounts of timelines where
infinitely
everything
more
is
than
happening all at once.
Oh, so you definitely buy into that theory.
Yeah.
I'm like hit or miss on that.
If anything, just for fun, because I want there to be every single possibility of everything happening all at once.
Yeah.
Forever.
But that means like there's a timeline where every second in your life where you have had to make a decision that causes something to happen, there exists a timeline where instead of doing any of the other things you did, you just shit your pants.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like
I'm not in that one.
There's
so.
one timeline track,
except for maybe one day that will be me.
Right, it could be you. There's a timeline train where it's just a consecutive series of decisions where whenever you are faced with a decision, you just shit your pants.
Yeah, I don't care. That timeline can exist. I want all of them. I want every timeline.
That's a really optimistic way of looking at it, I think. I enjoy that. I don't know if I quite buy into it, just because I feel like some of the timelines are like so silly. But
well, some of them are going to be fucking horror movies, and some of them are going to be really fucking funny, and some of them are going to be like awesome, and some are going to be like really stupid and like.
But you know that's kind of interesting though, because like, isn't that kind of the point?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about what I think. Like my life isn't a fucking movie. Like, it's not like because of the fact that there is a timeline where I pick my nose real hard and I stab my brain and die. Like, just because that's a timeline that exists and I think that's stupid
that
doesn't mean that
exist.
it isn't real. Yeah, like the natural flow of time and the progression of the universe doesn't actually give a shit about whether or not my decisions are interesting or smart,
or whether you like it.
Simply is right. It's like time in itself is kind of its own force of nature. It just is. It doesn't have an opinion or a morality. Yeah. It just kind of exists.
Because also, if you exist that theory, if you believe in that theory,
sure,
then that means there's actually a timeline out there somewhere in the multiverse where we are our D&D party and you're God.
Okay, that's interesting. I never thought. No, but that's weird though, because would I be God or would I be like all of my characters?
I don't know.
Or am I all of them?
You'd probably be all of them, or you'd be God, one or the other, whichever one.
Yeah.
It's probably both, all of them at once.
That's weird to think about.
There's a timeline where we're dinosaurs. There's a timeline where I'm Queen of England. There's a timeline where you guys are Queen of England.
Yeah, I would never want to be God. That's too much. That's too much pressure. It's too much responsibility.
It doesn't seem like it to me.
I mean, sure, but
just let shit run hog wild. There you go.
Oh, see, you're a very hands-off deity.
No, I'm talking about my feelings towards God.
Oh, okay. I got you. That's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, not a Christian, but me and God, we've been disagreeing with what's going on with my body in the last few months.
Yeah.
So we have beef.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. I have some words. I have some choice words for God. Whoever they are. Why do you make people sick? I don't like that. You could stop that. That would not be nice. Also, why do you make things cost money? That shit's stupid.
Why do you give children maggots?
Yeah, why do you give children? Yeah, like parasites.
Anyway,
that's like a Stephen Fry thing. I remember that clip. Anyway,
we're going tangent. Off the trails.
A tangent as always.
We're making ourselves get onto the track of reality where everyone hates us because we're bad mouthing God. So let's.
Does everyone hate us though? I mean,
I just said we're getting on the track. I didn't say we were there.
That's fair. I was about to say, if you assume that most of our viewers are millennials or Gen Z, I feel like most of them kind of don't really care that much.
That just reminds me of the fucking stupid meme that's like, the thing that's wrong with millennials is that they all have gay and no Jesus.
Oh yeah, it's the meme where it's like people walking into two different doors, and one of the doors says church above it, and there's no one walking into it, and then the other one just says gay, and there's like a line of 1,000 people, and then there's like different versions of the meme, but underneath it, it's like Marge Simpson, and she's dressed up in her Sunday best, and she's yelling up the stairs to the other kids, and she's like, "Come on, kids, you're gonna be late for gay," but it's just like all lowercase, and it's like blacked out over the top of it. The funniest fucking shit. That's our generation in a nutshell.
Yeah.
We're gonna be late for gay. We've abandoned Jesus. Okay. Jesus was a pretty cool dude.
Yeah. No qualms with Jesus.
God, on the other hand, we're beefing. We've got some issues.
It's okay. I'm a Wiccan anyway.
That's true. Yeah, you don't give a fuck. But yeah, okay. So before we get onto a religious tangent,
before we keep talking about fucking religion and politics, let's go back to timelines.
Let's go back to time travel. Yeah, so I mean that was basically my whole spiel. I just wanted to present that as an interesting theory. I'm very curious to know what you guys think. I want to know if any of our viewers, if they've seen any examples of the Mandela Effect occurring in their own personal lives, any false memories that they remember having, but in looking back, you don't find any of the information you thought you had looked for, and you swear it existed, but it's not there. Let us know about any strange timeline hiccups or glitches in the matrix, or just generally weird things that you all have experienced in your life leading up to this point. Weigh in on all of those things, and maybe we can see just how far this Mandela Effect alternate timeline,
or if you even fucking believe in it in the first place.
Oh yeah, also let us know.
Don't just assume we all believe it.
Yeah, let us know if you think we're full of shit. If you can, I'm not gonna say that I'm perfect, so if you can find a reasonable way to explain why any of this is happening in people's collective subconscious and make sense of it in a way that I haven't looked at, I super encourage you to comment, because I would like to know. I can't see everything from one perspective, and also I'm heavily inclined to believe in weird timey-wimey bullshit because I think that's fun and kind of neat. So maybe I overlooked something because I'm more excited about being in an alternate timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so let us know in the comments if you've experienced any of these things, whether or not you think we're full of shit, and just take a look at, I'm going to make sure, somebody get on me if I don't, make sure that I post the link to that Twitter thread. up there, because that's got a lot of like the pictures that I was talking about, especially the stuff with the Ellis Island and Liberty Island. Check the comments as well underneath, because there was a couple of other like really interesting snapshots and like more pictures of people posing with things that like don't exist. A little bit eerie. It might, like, if you're looking for a little atmospheric, maybe like psychological horror to start
I was
off
just
your
gonna
Halloween.
say, I'm like, that's not very spooky.
No, it's not spooky. It's just kind of
like, I love the topic,
it's
but like
creepy.
For Halloween theory, it's not very spooky.
It is kind of spooky though when you think about it.
I just think it's fun.
Well, yeah, because the thing is we're living in an alternate timeline, but like it gets spooky when you look at like you have to think about it from on a very psychological level.
See, that's the thing. Psychological stuff freaks you out. It doesn't freak me out.
Oh, right. That's very true. Yeah, you're very much not a psychological horror kind of person. Yeah. You're not like a cerebral horror kind of person. Mm-hmm. You're definitely more of like the visceral horror. Yeah. More of like the very visual horror.
And not just like blood and shit. I'm not into like gore horror either. Like, it's like.
Oh, right. No, yeah, and I don't mean it like that.
It's like things actually have to be scary to be scary.
Yeah. You're definitely kind of like a creature feature kind of person.
Kind of.
Yeah. Not always?
Not really.
You do like a lot of the creature feature things they have on like Crypt TV and stuff.
Well, yeah, but there's only like one or two of them that I really, really like.
Fair. That's a good point.
And it's also not because, I mean, one of them's kind of scary. One of them's not really that scary.
Yeah. That's true.
And also, like, I don't like old, like, horror stuff either. Like that swamp creature that everyone is like, oh, it's a horror movie. I'm like, that's not scary.
Or like The Fly.
Yeah, it's not, not scary.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or like that one guy that has all the nails in his head. Not scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't really think he's scary either. But yeah, so this is a little bit of like spooky atmospheric horror. If you want to get yourself in the spooky Halloween spirit, watch some spooky movies, because this is a little bit different.
Watch Crypt TV, it's fun.
Oh yeah, Crypt TV is a great YouTube channel. They have a bunch of great spooky movies. We're going to be watching. I've made a whole playlist. So I guess we'll plug them. They didn't ask for that.
Or that.
Crypt TV sponsor us.
Well, that'd be fun, but also they're like a fucking like individual film studio. They're not going to sponsor us.
They could like be our friends.
I'd take that.
They could follow us.
We should link the master list of the shit you put together for them.
Oh yeah, I can link my account playlist if you guys want to watch. It's like 100.
Because then it makes it easy. You don't have to like run around and fucking look for it.
Yeah.
If you guys want to watch some like original like indie film horror like shorts and stuff, like even if you're not gonna watch all of it, watch like the look-see. And I've also watched what is it?
Definitely watch the look-see.
The Birch is only like one video, but I love that.
Girl in the Woods.
Girl in the Woods is good.
Sunny Family Cult.
Sunny Family Cult I watched, and it's actually really good.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. I'm excited to watch it this year.
It's good.
We have decided we're going to watch through all of their videos, and there's like 400 of them, so it'll keep you occupied for this Halloween season.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're really into the atmospheric horror, you can also turn all your lights on, sit in your room, listen to this podcast, and think very, very long and hard about how there's a distinct possibility that everything that you know and love is simply a mental fabrication of an alternate timeline that never existed, and all of your memories are not real, and in fact just something to keep things functioning while the cracks in the universe break around us, and all of us spiral slowly into madness and potential decay.
See, that's not scary. You're just going to send people to therapy.
Depression's scary.
It's not scary.
Or don't do that. Maybe like drink some caffeine and take a nap. Like not one after the other, unless that works for you.
I've done it.
But like do both. Like treat yourself this Halloween season.
Buy a $30 box of rock candy. That's Halloween themed.
Yeah, do what Hannah did. Buy a $30 box of rock candy that takes like 800 years to eat, but is really tasty. Okay, so that's enough.
Derailing.
Yeah. Once again, we want to thank you all for listening to us. Thanks for putting up with us and inviting us into your homes.
And next week I'm going to be...
Oh, yeah, next week I'm very excited because
I'm going to be talking more spooky stories.
Oh, we're going to do like actual spooky. We're going to do like your kind of spooky, not like my kind of mental spooky.
Yeah, we're going to actually talk about like spooky stories because...
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to just tease it right now because I don't want people to be disappointed. I really wanted to talk about I wanted to read like the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books, but I was afraid we were gonna get like sued.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's a good point.
So we're doing Reddit scary stories again. I know there's a lot of Reddit stuff, and I hope no one's disappointed by that.
Hell
But
yeah!
I went through a fuckload of Reddit pages, and I found some of the ones that I thought were spookiest. They're not like all bone-chillingly scary, but I figured I'd at least since it's gonna be the middle of October, we talk about something kind of spooky.
Hell yeah! I like it. Oh, I'm so excited now. I'm ready to cry. This is the kind of like I enjoy that kind of spooky, just like I enjoy psychological like horror, but like that kind of spooky like freaks me out. Whereas mine just like gets me thinking, and my brain just wanders off, and I'm like, yeah, this is neat.
See, the whole point of being spooky is to be scared.
I don't know about that. Being scared is sometimes kind of, I don't like it.
Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to us as always. We hope you have a lovely rest of your week. We hope you have a lovely rest of your month. Find some fun opportunities to do some spooky stuff this Halloween season, and we will see you again next week.
Happy Halloween!
What? Happy Halloween, everybody.
Tripping over my tongue. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. We love you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Goodbye, everybody.